Sarab is mirage. You consider it's water, but it's not water. You know? We are following mirage. Sarab. Not business-oriented or part of private. This all ranking QA, this is publishing company. This is private business. They started that business. They rate the football team, they rate the school, they rate the cars, they rate everything. So it's more materialistic perspective. And also ours is part of the Muslim Ummah, the OIC countries. We are not talking about publication or private or whatever. Many experts from different regions and countries, including Indonesia. Prof. Anis was part of them. So we consulted a lot of experts from Muslim countries and approved by UNESCO, ISISCO and FUIW, and easy to use, which we can easily implement. I don't want to discuss this in detail. That's our aim and objective. I can leave it to Prof. Anis to distribute all these vision, mission, objective, and programs and tasks we are doing. So you can share with us. It is free of charge. We don't charge people for it. So I leave it with Prof. Anis to use it anywhere, in the way he likes. So we started with this all planning. First we started with this, and then this and this management, and then buy-in. We are now promoting the tool and piloting it. And I would like your council, your association to be part of piloting program, inshallah. That's the priority areas which we have done. You can have it, no need to discuss it. That's what they have started in 2015. I was not there, but really the real start started 2016 when I became the chairman of this agency, and then 2017, and now we are here starting with marketing, creating awareness, and also piloting. Then we are going further until we reach rating, not ranking. So this is the phases, 2016-18. No need to go for it, because as I think, main idea is to tell you that there is, and this is until 2019 to 21. Now, the other point I want to make is the network. As a result of this tool, we have to learn from each other. So we created a network, virtual network, for quality and university performance. It is voluntary, it's not compulsory, and also we give you a certificate from ourselves that you are a member of the quality network in the Muslim world, and we'll send you the certificate for that. All you have to do, key in the form, in the Google format. And I'll give the link to Prof. Anis, so any university in Indonesia could be directly a member of this, and they can make use of this network. Like attending, this is again our, vision, mission, and objective of the network. So to become the leading and pioneering platform for Muslim world universities and their leaders to excel in their performance. The mission is this: the network endeavor to build institutional capacity on Muslim world universities and their leaders through training, consultation, and exchange of experiences in the area of university performance measurement and development. And this is the objective. A lot of things we do, and we update the members with our activities. We provide them with special discount in their training, and we can provide trainers. We have the pool of experts from all Muslim countries, including Indonesia. So we can use all talents we have in the Muslim world. And alhamdulillah, we have a lot. We can update members with all activities, as I said, and training. And we are planning to publish an academic journal on quality and governance. And these are the activities. How many minutes left? Oh, good, good. Alhamdulillah, great. So that's the planned services we have. Prof. Aris can email you. What we do, we can create a WhatsApp group. We can have your emails. We can send you all things we have. MashaAllah, finished. Thank you very much. It's out of something.
Alhamdulillah. Prof. Dawood managed to present his presentation, which is very useful, very important, I think, for us. Because Hamas, taban, yani.
We want to act.
Masya Allah. Very semangat ya, beliau menyampaikan presentasinya ini, dan saya rasa ini yang kami ingin mengajak BKSPTIS untuk kita berpikir ke arah ini. Kita jangan sampai terlalu dalam, terlalu terobsesi dengan model-model perankingan. Kita memiliki value dan kita memiliki tradisi yang berbeda. Jadi kita perlu untuk memiliki model, memiliki tool kita sendiri ya dalam menjamin kualitas kita. Ya. Dan ini sudah dipioniri ya, piloti oleh IIUM dengan ISESCO, maka monggo silahkan nanti kalau ada yang ingin ditanyakan atau didiskusikan untuk dicatat terlebih dahulu, karena sebelumnya saya akan memberi waktu. I will give the time to Professor Sultan Al-Adwan to give his discussion, his comments, and then Professor Ibrahim Zain. Within 15 minutes, Prof.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya wal-mursalin, Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Professor Anis, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, we are so delighted and happy to be with you for this important symposium or this important conference. We have listened to our dear brother, Professor Dawood, and really what I like from Professor Dawood, he's always enthusiastic about when he talks. He wants to fight. Jihad, mashallah. But he,
with the pen.
yes, with the pen, with the brain. Yes. Actually, when we are talking about universities, and all of us, we belong to universities, and we would like to see how are our universities, how they are doing, and how we could compare them with each other. In the Islamic world, we have thousands and thousands of universities. But nowadays, we hear every day in the morning, we said world-class university. What do you mean by world-class university? 500, among the 500 best universities in the world, where is my university? Does it belong to the 500 or 1,000 or 3,000? And here we are talking about ranking of universities. And Professor Dawood mentioned two standards, international standards, QS and Times Higher Education. And he gave the standards and the methodology, how they apply it for those universities. QS approached the Association of Arab Universities many times, and they want to work with us. But I agree with Professor Dawood, the criterion, what we have been seeing, does not apply to us. Let us go further to Shanghai. The Shanghai process, they are concentrating on research, but also they have included the awards, the prizes. If we are talking about Nobel Prizes, and all of us, we know that the Nobel Prizes usually does not apply to our universities. Therefore, this thing, we should really take it out of our thought. We should not think of it. And when it comes to research and research with industry, research, we do it with the universities, and how much money we get from industry. In the Islamic world, most of the research, what we are conducting in our universities, is coming from the government. We will say like 80 to 90% of the funds coming to research coming from the government. 10 to 20% coming from the private sectors. This pyramid in the West, in the industrialized countries, it is in maqloob, 90% coming from the private sectors. You spend $1, you are getting back $10 back. That's the way they look at it. Therefore, we are not doing the same thing. We don't have applied research. While we are not far away from Korea or Japan. Samsung, for example, it is a gigantic company. They have researchers in Samsung more than all the researchers in the Arab countries, for example, because they are making money. The same thing in Japan, or in America, or in Europe. Therefore, such things, we hope that some days we will have applied research in our Muslim countries. A second thing I would like to talk about here, internationalization, al-awlama, or globalization. During my lecture yesterday, I mentioned about how higher education started in the Islamic world after Islamization. And during that time, when we had the first universities in the world established in the Islamic world, Zaytuna University in Tunisia, or Al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco, or Al-Azhar al-Sharif in Egypt, in Cairo, or Al-Mustansiriya in Iraq. During that time, in Europe, it was dark. There was no universities. You will find the European students, they used to come and study in our region, in the Islamic world. And once they finish and graduate, the students during the graduation ceremony will wear al-abba'a wal-amama. Look, now things has changed now. Therefore, we were the pioneer in chemistry, in physics, in astronomy, in medicine, in mathematics. Jabir bin Hayyan in chemistry. Al-Khawarizmi fil Jabr. We used to have the best. And I said in the 18th century, after the Islamic world started declining, the European Revolution started going up, they came to our area, to North Africa and to the Middle East, and they start forming some schools and universities. I talked about yesterday about the American University in Beirut, the American University in Cairo, St. Joseph University in Beirut, French University. And I mentioned yesterday there's internationalization or westernization is not a new trend. During the Arabs, during the Muslim, we had this. Borders were open for everybody to come and study. And that's the way it should be nowadays. Now if you look at, for example, the Muslim countries, Malaysia, for example, attracting thousands and thousands of international students, mostly coming from the Arab world and from Asia. I think USA is attracting the most from the international students. They are attracting more than 1 million students. UK is number 2, is attracting around 500,000. Imagine if UK will close the border now for international students. Most of their universities will be closed. Some universities in UK, 50% of the graduate students, they are coming from abroad, international students. Yes, we are proud of Malaysia, for example, attracting more than 120 or 130,000 international students. Yes, indeed, it's Muslim. They are Muslim, coming from Islamic countries, but that's good. Therefore, Malaysia is becoming a hub for higher education in this region. If we go to the Middle East, to the Arab countries, not because I am Jordanian, but Jordan is becoming a hub for higher education in the Middle East. Jordan is a very small country. We have no gas in Jordan, we have no oil, we have no gold in Jordan, but we are investing in universities in higher education. And we are proud that our universities in Jordan among the best in the Middle East. And that's what we should do. Try to invest in human capital. Try to work together to learn from each other. All the time I will say, look at Saudi Arabia. It is a big continent, قارة كبيرة. And they have a lot of workers over there. Why they wouldn't bring the brain drainage from US, from Australia, from UK, bring the Muslim scientists and come and work in Saudi Arabia. They should give them the chance. Saudi Arabia will change for them. Look at the American civilization. Within 60 or 70 years, America is becoming the superpower. Why? Because they brought all the good scientists from all over the world. It is a place for everybody. And we should do this in our Islamic countries. We should bring good scientists who are sincere, who can work within our universities. And the last point I will talk about, because yesterday I heard and today about the languages. When Professor Dawood mentioned about reputation and about citation today, it is in English. And it is important because science is using the language, the English language. We have to learn the language, whether German or French language or the English. But we should not ignore our local language. We should use our local language for teaching tool. Because your students here in Indonesia, if you teach him in English or in French, he wouldn't learn, he will not absorb the material so much. But if you teach the student in his own language, he will absorb it nicely. Therefore, yes, we should teach in our language, but we should not ignore learning a second or a third language. That's very important. When we are talking about citation, the citation, whether Scopus or other resources, they are using the English language. They will look for journals which is in English. Do we have our own citation in the Muslim countries? But we speak so many languages. We speak Arabic, we speak Malay, we speak Indonesian here, we speak Persian in Iran, we speak Turkish, Urdu in Pakistan and in Bangladesh and so on. Therefore, yes, we should learn the second language. It's important if you want to publish. If you want to publish in good journals. Of course, there are good international journals and there's local journals. 5 minutes, okay. I mentioned briefly yesterday that the Association of Arab Universities not working within the Arab countries. We are working outside. Professor Dawood knows this for a fact, that we expanded the area of our working with different organizations. When I took my position 7 years ago, I went to Europe. I went to Belgium. I sat with the European Universities Association. And I said, let's work together. And we had conducted several international conferences between the Arab countries and the European universities. The first one was held 2012 at University of Barcelona. And during the first conference, we had more than 150 rectors from both regions, from the Arab region as well as from Europe. The result of that conference, we start working together through scientific research, joint projects, and those projects were supported by the European Union. 2014, we had the second one held in Amman at Princess Sumaya University. The third one, 2015, went back to Barcelona. The fourth one, just 2016, we went to University of Mohammed V in Rabat in Morocco. And by the end of this year, we are going to have the 5th Arab European Conference on Higher Education, where rectors or vice chancellors from both regions meet with each other and signing agreement, MOU. But we have to implement such MOU. We went to China. We had 3 conferences with the Chinese universities. We went to Turkey. We came to Malaysia, and we had conferences with the ASEAN universities, the ASEAN countries. Yes, indeed. Any international conference like this will bring people together. They can think together. They can cooperate and collaborate. From this conference, if I can make contact with 1 or 2 or 3 professors and do some research with them in the future. And that's what we should do. We should make a group of researchers from different countries and tackle problems. Tackle a problem here in Indonesia, or in Malaysia, or in India, or in North Africa, or in the Middle East. We have to work together. But if you try to work by yourself, you will not accomplish anything. I graduated from University of Michigan in the States. And during that time, in my lab, we were 7 people from 7 different countries. From Germany, from Poland, from Africa, from Middle East, from America, and from South America. And that's the way it should be. In every research facilities. We should work together in groups. And we publish also in groups. Look at Germany nowadays. They took almost 1 million Syrian refugees. ليس من الرحمة والعطف عليهم. It is not because they feel like mercy for them. No, because they are in bad need for people to work in their industries in Germany. That's what they want. If they were not in bad need for them, they will not take them. And that's exactly what's happening in Europe nowadays. They need people from our side. And I hope by the end of this conference, we should have some recommendation for the future. I'm telling my brother, Dr. Anis, that we should recommendation and results outcome of this international conference for the future, how we can work together. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very delightful remarks. And now I pass to Professor Ibrahim Zain to give his comments and remarks. Fadal. Yes. Okay.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala ashraf khalqillah Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Well, I'm really delighted to be here with you. And I don't have that much energy as our great Professor Dawood had. So I'll be sitting and talking to you. Perhaps some of you are going to go for sound asleep. Before I go, straight to the point, which were raised by our learned professor there, Professor Dawood. Allow me just to, because he insisted about the context, allow me to say this about why is it so that we needed a new integrated instrument or measurement for performance, for evaluating the performance of universities in the Muslim world. Now, I think as a personal anecdote, perhaps, my generation, in the 70s where we were doing our undergraduate studies, I remember that the university in which I was doing my first degree, which was in Sudan, 60% of the staff were coming from Europe and North America. And that tells you what? Tells you that the whole idea of a university was something alien to us. It's part of the modernization, it's part of the colonial experience that we had. But now, thanks God, if you go to most of these universities in the Muslim world, perhaps there will be tiny minority coming from North America or Europe. Majority of the staff are going to be from the local universities or from other countries in the Muslim world. So we went so far a long way for the indigenization of these institutions of higher learning. And now I think it is the time for us to have our own measurement. But allow me also to say this, that we've got to be critical. So what I'm going to put in my submission, a critique of the critique. I understand what has been developed by Professor Dawood and his team is that they wanted an equivalent measurement which will reflect our own logic of development as well as our own priorities. We are not going to submit to the will of our colonial masters to tell us how we should be evaluated and how we should be ranked. Because that would reflect what? That would reflect their interest, their priorities, but at the same time, we don't want to be isolated from the international arena. A balanced understanding of this new measurement, which has been developed by Professor Dawood and his team is a good thing. And also, we needed to have a kind of a balanced understanding of what globalization is all about. I mean, a globalization that would not address local issues, local issues, national issues, and regional issues, and then the global issues wouldn't be a good criteria for globalization. We wanted to be part of the whole world. We don't want to be isolated. I mean, that measurement could be good for Muslims as well as non-Muslims. I mean, if it's a measurement that only good for Muslims, I mean, it isn't a measurement, and it isn't objective enough. So what we have to have is that to have a measurement that would address, I mean, be able to address humanity problems and humanity issues. I mean, we are living in the same planet, okay? We should not be, looking inward and serving only our interest. And at the end of the day, what somebody will say, well, this was developed by Professor Dawood. Where is he located? He is located in IIUM. He was trying to convince us that he was taking the views of others. But still, I've been in UIA for 23 years. I was just thinking that obviously this measurement will put IIUM on top of everybody else. I'm not being cynical, but it can be seen that way. So we've got to be at IIUM and elsewhere to be critical of whatever measurement we are going to develop, where we would like to engage others as well. I like one important thing, I mean, that this integrated performance tool is comprehensive. And obviously the core issue of education is about what? Is about teaching and learning, and then research and publication. It was given 40%, which is fair enough. But some might say, well, why not give it more than that? Perhaps you can give it 50% if this is the core business, instead of giving it. I'm not quarreling now about the weightage, but I'm saying it's very important, I guess, to get fresh views on the issue, whereas we needed to relook into the kind of weightage we are giving to different components of the tool. And my understanding, if research and publication is the core business of education, then it should be given 50%. And the other 50% should be divided to the 10 standards, which were rightly, I guess, worked out by Professor Dawood and his team. I don't have any objection to any of them. I think most of the other 8 standards are very important, and they are needed for a comprehensive and integrated performance. Now, we also needed to do this, that education about what? About the flow of information, perhaps the skills as well, knowledge, and one important aspect which were highlighted by Professor Dawood's team is the aspect of values, the aspects of the need of others who are less privileged. But all in all, I would call it wisdom. Now, the flow of knowledge and information can be really measured, but it is too difficult, I guess, to measure the flow of wisdom, which is very important. I mean, we are not going to create workforce for the market, and as you can tell from the critique of Professor Dawood and his team, they wanted to disengage themselves from what we call it this way, what we call it the market economy metaphor for education. If you look into the measurements which we are having, the QS and others, they are all driven by what? By the market economy metaphor. Now we are, as Islamic universities, we are bringing here a very important thing, which is not following the market economy metaphor, but rather following a metaphor of a good human being. Yesterday, one of the vice chancellors of USIM was talking about the soul. I mean, the university should have a soul. It will have a soul when it disseminates wisdom. It creates people who are sensitive to the needs of others, people who are having knowledge, but also they are having the ethical dimension. Now I know it's very difficult, I guess, to measure that aspect of wisdom. Perhaps he developed, and his team, they developed the measurements and the KPIs for this, but still, I should call it a work in progress. I don't think that is the final thing. Now, I think I have another 5 minutes, is it? Yeah, another 5 minutes. In these 5 minutes, as I said to you, we would like to replace the metaphor of the market economy, the international market economy, which I think is the legacy of colonialism, with another measurement which will have the needs of the, the former colonized countries, which will also have the priorities of these countries, which will also address the internal logic of these countries. Now, but we also do not want to isolate ourselves. We also wanted to have a kind of an international measurement that would not compare us with others. But at this level, or at this phase in our development, perhaps parallelism would be more important than comparison. We don't have to compare ourselves with others, because that comparison will end up that we are going to be down there at the bottom, and they are going to be up there. Parallelism actually will teach us to learn something from others, but at the same time, not to be isolated from others. To bring in the globalization dimension, but to emphasize that the globalization dimension is not meant to be the monopoly of the developed world, be the monopoly of those who are having everything in the center, and those like us who are in the periphery, who are going always to be dependent on them. If we engage ourselves in a comparative analysis, but if we engage ourselves in drawing parallelism, that will help us, and also will help the advanced world to learn something from us. I mean, it is always and almost the dissemination of information and knowledge is obviously coming from the center to the periphery. But there is something valuable. These so-called peripheries can teach these developed and advanced societies and advanced institutions of higher learning by opening their eyes to wisdom. I mean, after the financial crisis, Harvard realized that for so many years, they were teaching economics that's completely devoid from ethics and values. If you want ethics and values, you go to the School of Theology. If you want economics, you should be completely devoid of ethics and values. And look what happened. We had the financial crisis, which was about what? The absence of values in these practices. And they started to bring in business, to bring in these ethical, professional ethics and values into their curriculum. So what I'm saying is this: we are living in one planet, and we have to engage those who are having now the power and those who control the international governance and the international arena. Talking to them, I guess, will be very useful. Isolating ourselves will not be useful to the whole humanity. Wassalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very interesting remarks, and I think complement each other. This is to complement what Prof. Dawood already presented. Now I give the floor, the opportunity to give the Bu Atik, yeah, and then Pak Nirwan, Pak Lubis. Yes, please direct your question to respective speakers here. Ladies first.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Atiki from Sharia Economics Business College, Tangerang, Indonesia. Regarding the explanation from Professor Dawood, I am very interesting, and I'm waiting your lecture today, especially about the standard that we plan to do. So, as the Islamic University, we actually have two cores. First, we have the Islamic orientation, and secondly, the Ahlakul Karimah. Maybe this is two of our core that should be stand for. My question is about the standard of Islamic University that we want to develop. Can we cooperate together and also arrange maybe from UNISSULA and give the floor to connecting each other? And then we can learn also from IIUM with the experience. Second questions regarding about the financial independently. I heard in Indonesia and also in Malaysia, most of government must cut some of their expenditures for the education. And I heard that it almost 30% from the government expenditure. So it's very, very big, big cut of the expenditure. So I want, I have information. I want to get some information from the panelists about the how we to do the financial independently, especially as the Islamic private university. We almost don't have any subsidized by our government. We try to survive by ourselves, and mostly we depend on the number of our students. And for the research, as we all the panelists said yesterday, as the Muslim countries, we are very lacking behind. So that is some of the problem we have. Maybe we can cooperate together. And also to Professor Sultan, I want to know, since you mentioned yesterday about some of the problem in Arab Muslim countries university, about the brain drain and also some of their lacking research that we must improve. What the association have done to improve the condition of the university in Arab countries? Is it already improved or have some program that we can also learn from you, and maybe you can share it to us? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Atiki. And Pak Nirwan, please.
Thank you. Syukron. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nirwan Shafrin from Universitas Ibn Khaldun, Bogor. Thank you very much for the enlightening speeches by three professors here. What I can notice from the presentations, first, that we are as Muslims, especially in the Islamic universities, seems that we still try to search for our place in the global, in the global arena, whether we should focus on ourselves, as Professor Dawood have explained, or we try to be part of the global, as Professor Ibrahim Zain has talked about it, whether we want to isolate ourselves or we want to be part of the global. And the second thing that I can notice is what the standard that we should have. Whether we should be inward looking or we have to be also follow the standard of others. As we know, I'll see in the discourse of knowledge, now there is what people say as indigenization of knowledge or post-colonial studies and so many things, which actually all the third world countries, mostly are Muslims, they actually want, they want to set a standard for themselves. India, China, Muslim countries, Africans, even there is now a term of Africanization of knowledge. We used to hear about Islamization of knowledge, but now the African scholars also have popularized the term Africanization of knowledge, which means that they want to have a concept of knowledge which is locally contextualized. And then the problems that we have from the presentation that we heard is now where we have to go, whether we should set our standards or we should follow the rest. I love to, because this is here Dr. Setiawan, I love to, to hear the philosophy of Gontor. The Gontor said we should not, the promotion of the Gontor is the alumni. If the alumni are good, then that is the promotion of the university. What I'm saying is that if we are good in ourselves, then people will come. Why people, as mentioned by Professor, what is his name, Adwan, why people before came to our universities in Andalusia, in Arab countries? Because we are good. But the problem now, we are not good, then people are not coming. But if you are good, then people will come. I used to tell to my friends like this, which one is better? To publish in international journals, or that we never publish international journal, but our works are cited by those who write in the international publication. Which one is better? Then, because sometimes he do not write in international publication, but his works or his literature are cited by those who write in international publications. So what I'm what I'm trying to say is that if you are good, we try to be as good as possible, as the best possible as we can. We try to develop our standards. Then I suggest that this BKSPTIS, whose members I think is more than 1,000. We have here in Indonesia, as mentioned before by Minister of Education, we have more than 4,000 universities, private universities, and mostly are Islamic universities. And only 120 something public universities. And then you see, but the private universities have to be subjected to the regulation set up by, let's say, this public university or the ministry. So what I'm saying is that the private Islamic university especially, we try to set our standards. Then we hope that from the BKSPTS here, we will come up with our standard, and like before there is a Sharia standard of Rumah Sakit, then why you don't come up with our standard of what we call it good, what is called best, what is called international, then so forth and so thing. So what I'm saying is that let's try to do our best, then people will come. The last point, just as an example. Now, many of our IIUM alumni now are sending their children to to IIUM. Why? The question is why? Because they think that the university provides a good education. It's just like I said, the Gontor. Yeah? Most of their students are the children of the alumni. So the alumni themselves are what call this? The alumni themselves are promoting the promoting the institutions. So if you are good, then people will come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Darwan. Pak Lubis, please.
Yeah, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for the nice materials and also the provoking style of Professor Daud. All the KPI, all the substance that you raised in this floor, I think is really excellent. And then I think Arab universities, Indonesian universities also, I mean the national standard already towards that kind of approach. I remember the Praha meeting of Rector Summits in Praha in April 2016, also some of the ones that you have mentioned. So this is a kind of comprehensive, it's really good. What I like to hear from you actually, you mentioned ISISCO, and you mentioned also IIU. I think we have to follow like what OECD, you know OECD, right? OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation country. Why does ISISCO try to have this a kind of platform? Because so people can learn from this. I don't know, this program belongs to which organization, but we have ISISCO under OIC. Used to be ISISCO has, we have the office in our higher education ministers, but we haven't heard now. I think if so, to make every university in Muslim countries can learn, I think we need to have some kind of platform like OECD platform, not to follow OECD, but we can enrich that, because you mentioned about wisdom. I think people, I mean, many Western countries don't really bring this issue. So in that case, we can really develop research in many areas, because Islam, Muslim countries can offer the world to learn from us. Just from Indonesia, you can see how the Islam, the Muslims, and living together with other people from other religions, a lot of things that we can learn. And then I think we can change the world if we have really the good platform. This has to be managed professionally, because this is one of our weakness actually. We have good spirit, and then if we have a meeting, we are in high spirit, but after that, we forgot what we have discussed here. I think if all agree, I don't know who is going to lead this, but we can really discuss this with ISISCO headquarters, bring this platform to them, and then, of course, your team can discuss with them to make such kind of approach. Inshallah, this is going to be sustained. I'm afraid you are in the good spirit, in high, with high spirit, but tomorrow we lose. We forgot about this. This is my point. Yeah. So how to put this into really sustainable platform? Because all the KPI, I think every university here has learned from our national platform also. Some of our national platform also is a part of the one that you have mentioned. But we have to put the wisdom, spirit, Islamic values in order to be able to share with among ourselves and also to the rest of the world outside of the Islamic countries. And that's my point.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Lubis from University Azhar, Jakarta. I think we are running short of time because 12 o'clock will be Jum'ah prayer. So within 3 minutes, I think I give the microphone to Prof. Dawood to respond. Just for a while.
First of all, thanks for all of you for commenting on the tool. But I would like, because I didn't have the time to tell you how we developed the tool. The tool was based on all international quality assurance and ranking system. So we are not isolated from the world. In fact, most of the standard and criteria are drawn globally and internationally. Around 80% of the standard and key performance indicators are global. So we have added mainly the ethical part as well as the impact part. And even the impact part partially global. So don't worry about isolation. We are part of the global culture in terms of quality and governance. Second, it is not the tool of IIUM. Muslim scholars from all the Muslim countries participated in developing this tool. Only the body is hosted in IIUM campus, but it is shared by everybody in the Muslim world. And it was discussed by 320 universities who are the members of FUIW. And it was approved by ministers of higher education of OIC countries. But that does not mean it is final. As I said, it is the first version. We would like to pilot it. Piloting, it means testing it. And we have to conduct workshops in different parts of the Muslim world, in the Indian subcontinent, in Africa, in Middle East, in South Asia, so that we can encourage different Muslim universities to pilot it and test it. Then we can even improve the standard, the key performance indicators, the weightage system even. So it is not final, but we are, to me, we are well balanced. Maybe 15% is unique for the Muslim universities. Sorry? Adhan. Okay. I think that's enough.
Okay, thank you very much for the speakers as well as for the attendants. And please give applause to the speakers. Thank you very much for your attendance. And I would like to close this session, this symposium, with recitation of Hamdallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
شكرا جزيلا للدكتور أنس مالك طه على حسن الجلسة المحاضرة وكذلك نقدم جزيل الشكر وأعلى التقدير للمتكلمين الأفاضل لإلقائهم المحاضرة الثمينة